This was the aircraft that, in World War II, was considered the true identity of Britain. The Supermarine Spitfire, a remarkable fighter plane, known for its speed and agility. Pilots loved it, and for the people, it became the machine that could win them the war. But in reality, this plane was hiding a serious problem. The problem was, its engine would suddenly shut down, right at the crucial moment of a dogfight with a German pilot, especially when it was forced into a dive. On the other hand, the German Luftwaffe's Messerschmitt 109 fighter planes had no such issue. This is why, during combat, German pilots would often dominate the British. Britain won the Battle of Britain, but only just. And the biggest reason was this engine problem of the Spitfire. If Britain wanted a clear victory in World War II, they had to solve this strange issue at any cost. They tried everything. Big engineering firms put in their best efforts. But no one could fix the Spitfire. At last, the solution came. And it came from someone no one had expected. A woman, Beatrice Shilling. What exactly did this woman do with the Spitfire? That today she is credited by the Allies for helping win World War II? Welcome back once again, viewers of iFlare TV. The Rolls-Royce Merlin engine of the Spitfire first showed this problem in 1938. At that time, it wasn't considered a big deal, because before World War II, pilots didn't rely much on diving. But by 1940, when the Battle of Britain was at its peak, this wasn't just a technical issue. It had become a matter of life and death. The situation was even worse because, before World War II, the British government had already produced more than 20,000 Spitfires, which meant all of them had the same problem, because all of them carried the same Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. And soon it became clear that even the other fighter planes of the Royal Air Force, like the Hawker Hurricane and the Bolton Paul Defiant, were powered by the same engine. So in the middle of a global war, the Allies were forced to fight with planes that had defective engines. In 1940, when Nazi Germany was fighting France and Britain, the Luftwaffe's Messerschmitt 109s would cross into Allied airspace, and the RAF would counter with their Spitfires. To dodge enemy fire, pilots relied on advanced maneuvers, like sudden dives or sharp nose-ups to take aim. This was common in World War II dogfights. Planes could keep battling like this for hours. But imagine, in this fight for life and death, what happened if your engine suddenly died? Fortunately, in the Battle of Britain, the British pilots had one big advantage. They were fighting close to home, so fuel supplies were nearby. They could keep fighting for hours. But the Germans? They had to cross the English Channel, fight the battle, and then still make it back to their bases for refueling. This was a huge disadvantage. Perhaps that's the only reason why they couldn't even overpower the defective Spitfires. The Battle of Britain ended, but World War II was far from over. This Spitfire problem appeared mostly during nosedives. When a plane goes into a free fall, gravity pulls everything down. Anything not firmly fixed in place, like the blood in a pilot's body, or the fuel inside the carburetor of the engine, moves upward instead of down. Unfortunately, in the Rolls-Royce Merlin carburetor, the fuel outlets were located at the bottom. So, when the plane went nose down, the fuel would move upward away from the outlets, which meant the engine wasn't getting fuel. And that's when it either shut down or began to stutter until the plane returned to level flight. To solve this issue, the best minds in the world were brought in. Cyril Lovesey of Rolls-Royce and A.D. Fisher of the Royal Aircraft Establishment. They came up with clever technical fixes, but all failed. Worse, their ideas created new problems. It seemed hopeless, until in 1940, the final and best solution came from a woman we know today as Beatrice Shilling. Back in 1938, when Spitfires were undergoing production test flights, Beatrice Shilling was working on rebuilding and testing her favorite machine, a 490 centimetri cubi Norton motorcycle. It was on this very bike that she had become the fastest woman on the Brooklands racetrack. She wasn't just a racer. She was a brilliant engineer. Her love for motorcycles began in childhood. In 1919, when she was only 10, she watched her sisters go on cycling trips, but she was always left behind. So, she decided she would save money to buy a motorcycle. By 14, she bought her first bike, a two-stroke Royal Enfield. Slowly, she began fixing its problems herself. Soon, she was skilled enough to dismantle and rebuild the whole machine. By 15, she knew engineering was her true career. But this was 1924. Society did not believe women could be engineers. With the help of the Women's Engineering Society, she enrolled in October 1929 at the Victoria University of Manchester's Department of Electrical Engineering. She was the very first woman there. Later, she also studied thermodynamics and mechanical engineering. Her true passion. She was an engineer, yes, but also a racer who competed with men on the Brooklands track. And she could do this only because she had modified the carburetor of her Norton motorcycle to boost its pickup far beyond normal. At the time, even she didn't realize, but this very skill would one day help save the Spitfire and the Hurricane fighters. Before World War II, Beatrice had already spent 3 years working at the Royal Aircraft Establishment. At first, she only did technical documentation, but by November 1939, after several promotions, she became a technical officer, responsible for carburetor research and development. When Rolls-Royce engineers failed to fix the Spitfire, Shilling requested permission to try. At first, no one took her seriously, simply because she was a woman. But shockingly, in just a few days, she not only solved the problem, her solution left the authorities laughing at themselves for doubting her. So what exactly did she do? She designed a tiny brass restrictor plate with a hole of precise diameter. When fitted into the carburetor, it largely fixed the problem. The best part? This plate could be installed on the spot, without taking up much time. The only challenge left was installing it in Spitfires across different bases. For that too, Shilling used her Norton motorcycle. She traveled base to base, installing her device in Spitfires and Hurricanes. Her solution worked so well that pilots began calling it Miss Shilling's orifice. This tiny brass plate didn't completely fix the issue, but it solved it enough for the pilots to fight with confidence. Later, Shilling designed a completely new carburetor for the Rolls-Royce Merlin, eliminating the problem forever. After the war, the pilots gave full credit to her genius. For her work, she was awarded the Order of the British Empire, OBE. But Shilling didn't stop there. Instead of leaving engineering, she went on to work on new and advanced military projects. By the 1950s, she was working on rocketry, ramjets, and guided weapons. In 1955, she became Senior Principal Scientific Officer at the Royal Aircraft Establishment. Beatrice Shilling was not just a mechanic, not just an engineer. She was a remarkable character who opened new doors for women in engineering. And even today, it's widely believed, had Shilling not been there in World War II, the world map might not look the way it does today. We hope you enjoyed this video from my Flair videos. Don't forget to like and share. And thank you for your kind comments. We'll see you again in the next thrilling video.